Benito Mussolini, Italy's fascist dictator, envisioned himself as a new Roman emperor. He saw himself as the modern-day Caesar, destined to restore Italy to the grandeur of ancient Rome. Mussolini's ambitions were not just limited to Italy. He dreamed of a vast empire that would stretch across the Mediterranean and beyond. His speeches were filled with grandiose rhetoric, promising the Italian people a return to the days of Roman glory. He craved a vast empire, echoing the glories of ancient Rome. Mussolini's vision was deeply rooted in the symbolism of Rome's imperial past. He believed that by emulating the strategies and conquests of the Roman emperors, he could elevate Italy to a position of unparalleled power and influence. This vision was not just a political strategy, it was a personal obsession that drove many of his decisions. But Mussolini's dreams of conquest would soon crash against the rocks of reality. His grand plans were built on shaky foundations, and the realities of modern warfare were far different from the battles of ancient Rome. The logistical challenges, the technological advancements, and the sheer scale of World War II were beyond what Mussolini had anticipated. His overconfidence and lack of realistic planning would lead to disastrous outcomes. In 1940, his ill-conceived invasions of Greece and North Africa exposed the fatal flaws in his strategic thinking and the weakness of his armed forces. The Italian military was ill-prepared for the harsh conditions and fierce resistance they encountered. In Greece, the rugged terrain and determined Greek defenders turned what Mussolini thought would be a swift victory into a prolonged and costly campaign. In North Africa, the vast deserts and supply issues crippled the Italian forces, leaving them vulnerable to the British counterattacks. These blunders would have catastrophic consequences for Italy's war effort and ultimately seal Mussolini's own fate. The failures in Greece and North Africa not only drained Italy's resources but also shattered the morale of its soldiers and citizens. The once proud and confident nation found itself on the defensive, struggling to hold on to its territories. Mussolini's image as a strong and decisive leader was tarnished, and his grip on power began to weaken. Mussolini's miscalculations in Greece and North Africa were not isolated blunders. They were part of a pattern of overreach and poor judgment that characterized his leadership. His tendency to make impulsive decisions without fully understanding the consequences led to repeated failures. Mussolini's reliance on propaganda and his belief in his own infallibility blinded him to the realities on the ground. They were symptomatic of a deeper arrogance and strategic incompetence that permeated the Italian war machine. The lack of coordination, the outdated equipment, and the infighting among the military leadership further compounded the problems. Mussolini's refusal to listen to his advisors and his insistence on pursuing unrealistic goals led to a series of defeats that eroded Italy's position in the war. His decision to enter World War II alongside Hitler's Germany was itself a gamble based on the assumption that Germany would achieve a swift victory. Mussolini believed that by aligning with Hitler, he could share in the spoils of war and secure Italy's place as a dominant power. However, this alliance would prove to be a double-edged sword. While it initially brought some successes, it also tied Italy's fate to Germany's increasingly desperate war efforts. This proved to be a fatal miscalculation. As the tide of war turned against the Axis powers, Italy found itself facing overwhelming odds. The defeats on multiple fronts, the economic strain, and the growing resistance within Italy itself culminated in Mussolini's downfall. His grand illusions of empire crumbled, leaving behind a legacy of failure and devastation. Why did Mussolini drag Italy into these disastrous campaigns? The answer is not straightforward and involves a complex interplay of factors. The answer lies in a toxic mix of ambition, envy, and insecurity. Mussolini, the self-styled douche, was driven by a burning desire to restore Italy to the glory of the Roman Empire. He wanted to be seen as a powerful leader on the world stage, equal to or even surpassing his contemporaries. Mussolini envied Hitler's lightning conquests in Poland and France. The rapid success of the German blitzkrieg left Mussolini feeling overshadowed and desperate to prove Italy's military prowess. He believed that by emulating Hitler's aggressive tactics, he could achieve similar victories and elevate his own status. Eager to share in the spoils of war and bolster his own prestige, he saw Greece and North Africa as easy targets. Mussolini underestimated the challenges these campaigns would present. believing that his forces would face minimal resistance and achieve quick victories. Greece, strategically located in the eastern Mediterranean, offered a springboard for Italian expansion into the Balkans. Mussolini envisioned a new Roman Empire stretching across the Mediterranean, with Greece as a crucial stepping stone. North Africa, with its British and French colonies, presented an opportunity to secure control of the Mediterranean Sea and access vital resources. Mussolini believed that by dominating this region, Italy could cut off British supply lines and weaken their hold on the Mediterranean. Mussolini believed that these campaigns would be swift and decisive, cementing Italy's status as a great power. However, his overconfidence and lack of preparation led to disastrous outcomes. The Italian military was ill-equipped and poorly led, resulting in prolonged and costly conflicts that ultimately weakened Italy's position in the war. The invasion of Greece in October 1940 proved to be a humiliating disaster for Italy. The Italian army, ill-prepared for the mountainous terrain and fierce Greek resistance, was quickly bogged down. The Greeks, despite being outnumbered and outgunned, launched a spirited defense, pushing back the Italian invaders. The Greek campaign exposed the glaring weaknesses of the Italian military: inadequate equipment, poor leadership, and low morale. The swift defeat inflicted on the supposedly mighty Italian army sent shockwaves through the Axis powers and emboldened the Allied forces. In North Africa, Mussolini's dream of a swift victory quickly turned into a nightmare. The harsh desert environment and logistical challenges were underestimated by the Italian forces, leading to significant setbacks early on. The Italian invasion of Egypt in September 1940, aimed at capturing the Suez Canal, was met with fierce resistance from British and Commonwealth forces. The strategic importance of the Suez Canal meant that the Allies were determined to defend it at all costs, knowing that its loss would severely impact their supply lines and overall war effort. The British, though outnumbered, were better equipped and led. Their superior tactics and the use of advanced military technology gave them a significant edge over the Italian forces. The harsh desert conditions also played a role, as the British forces were better adapted to the environment. The tide turned decisively in December 1940, when the British launched Operation Compass, a counteroffensive that routed the Italian forces, taking thousands of prisoners and capturing vast quantities of equipment. This operation showcased the effectiveness of British military strategy and marked a turning point in the North African campaign. The North African campaign would drag on for years, becoming a costly drain on Italian resources and manpower. The prolonged conflict not only strained Italy's military capabilities, but also had significant political and economic repercussions back home. The campaign highlighted the complexities and challenges of desert warfare, where supply lines, morale, and adaptability were crucial to success. Section 5. The Price of Failure: Italy's Waning Fortunes. Mussolini's disastrous campaigns in Greece and North Africa had profound consequences for Italy's war effort. The defeats exposed the limitations of Italy's military and shattered the myth of Italian military prowess. The Italian people, who had initially been ambivalent about the war, grew increasingly disillusioned with Mussolini's leadership as casualties mounted and the economic situation deteriorated. The defeats also forced Hitler to divert valuable German troops and resources to bail out his incompetent ally, weakening the German war effort on other fronts. Section 6. A crumbling alliance cracks in the Axis. The failures in Greece and North Africa strained the relationship between Germany and Italy. Hitler, furious at his allies' incompetence, was forced to intervene directly in both theaters, deploying German troops to prop up the faltering Italian forces. While publicly maintaining a facade of unity, privately Hitler grew increasingly contemptuous of Mussolini and began to view Italy as a liability rather than an asset in the war. The seeds of mistrust and resentment sown by these early failures would eventually contribute to the unraveling of the Axis alliance. Section 7. From Partner to Puppet: Mussolini's Decline. The consequences of Mussolini's blunders extended far beyond the battlefield. His prestige within Italy and on the world stage was severely damaged. The defeats exposed him as a reckless gambler who had led his nation into a disastrous war. Within the Axis alliance, Mussolini was reduced from a supposedly equal partner to a subordinate figure reliant on Hitler's support. His authority within Italy was also undermined as the Italian people, disillusioned by the war and its mounting costs, began to question his leadership. Section 8. A Nation in Ruins. The Legacy of Defeat. The consequences of Mussolini's failed gambles in Greece and North Africa were felt long after the guns fell silent. Italy emerged from World War II devastated and humiliated, its economy in ruins, its infrastructure shattered, and its society deeply divided. The war, which Mussolini had promised would bring glory and empire, instead brought only defeat and devastation. It would take decades for Italy to recover from the physical and psychological scars of the conflict. Section 9. Echoes of Hubris, a Cautionary Tale. Mussolini's blunders in Greece and North Africa stand as a cautionary tale about the dangers of unchecked ambition, strategic incompetence, and the perils of entering a war unprepared. His miscalculations had catastrophic consequences for Italy, leading to military defeat, economic ruin, and ultimately the downfall of his own regime. The story of Italy's disastrous foray into World War II serves as a stark reminder that even the most grandiose ambitions can crumble when confronted with the harsh realities of war.